Welcome back to the Art of Feeling. Are you one of those people who says, I know where my problems come from, I've analyzed them to death, so why do I still react the same way? Maybe the problem is you know too much. What if there was a way to get to the root of the problem? What if you could go below what you already know, and even below all the familiar feelings? What if the answer was right inside you, practically right under your nose? Something that somehow you already knew, but never put into words? What if the key to unlocking the door was getting below the level of words? Let me tell you about Jared. Jared was a client of mine, a guy in his early 30s, good looking, smart, doing well in his career. He had every good reason to feel good about himself, but he was plagued with crippling feelings of inadequacy. He'd gone to therapy for many years about it. He knew where it came from. When he was really little, his mother had to leave him for weeks at a time with her elderly grandfather, his great-grandfather, while she traveled for work, sometimes hundreds of miles away. Now, he loved his great-grandfather, his pappy, and eventually things got better for his mom, and she was able to be with him full time. He did really well in school and at work, and today they're very close. But yet he had this big problem. One day he came into session and tried to pretend that everything was okay, but in 5 minutes he broke down. I feel horrible, he told me. I'm totally depressed and I don't know why. I shouldn't feel this way anymore. I was a little alarmed because he was as down as I'd ever seen him. And I knew that only 3 days earlier, he was on top of the world. He'd just gotten huge recognition about what a great job he was doing. So first I asked him naturally, did something bad happen since Monday? And he said, no. That's what's so crazy. There's something wrong with me. I'm too needy. Nothing is ever enough for me. I hate this about myself. Why does this keep happening to me? Now, what would you have done if you felt as awful and as panicky as Jared did and you didn't know why? This is what I did to help him. I said, let's slow it down, Jared. That calmed him down a little. He took a breath and he looked at me. Then I said, what's going on underneath all this? See if you can let go of all these thoughts you're having for a moment and feel what's going on in your body right now. He knew what I meant because we've done this before in previous therapy sessions. He lowered his eyes and took a deep breath, and he let go of all the agitated thoughts and feelings he was just talking about. Then he just sensed in here, into his torso. He was looking for some inner sensation, no matter how vague or small, that had to do with whatever was going on with him right then. He wasn't going to try to explain it or understand it or change it or give it a story. He was going to try to feel what was going on inside, below the level of words. Very slowly, with long pauses, something started to emerge. I'm going to tell you what happened, but I'm going to speed it up a lot. I don't know. I notice I feel really tired. Like weak and small. Small. He opened his eyes right then. Where did that come from? He was really surprised by that. I don't know, I said, but why don't we just stay with that? He said, okay, and he closed his eyes again. Yeah, like I feel so tired and weak and small. I want to be supported somehow. I want to be picked up or to be carried. The word hung in the air. Practically a minute went by, and it looked like Jared was watching a movie behind his closed eyes. Then finally, he opened up his eyes again and just said, "Wow." And I said, very insightfully, "Wow, what?" And he looked at me. Did I just say that? I just said I wanted to be carried. That was so weird. For a moment there, I was really little. I felt like a really, really little kid loaded around, you know? I nodded, and he kept going. I felt so tired and weak, like I couldn't stand up. I wanted to be picked up and carried, and nobody would. I don't remember anything like that happening, but I just felt it, like it was happening right now. He went on to explain that that was something he had never thought about before. His great-grandfather was kind and loving, but he was frail. He didn't always have the strength to go picking up and carrying around a 2 or 3-year-old boy. Jared was like a different man. All the exhaustion, the anxiety, the depression that he came into the session with just 15 minutes ago was completely gone. He was excited and energized. And then he said, "I finally understand. Every time I've done something really big, it's like I want a man to pick me up and carry me because my pappy couldn't do it." I want to point out that this wasn't a one-session miracle cure. Jared still kept coming to me for a while longer. Real change isn't magic. It still and always takes effort. But this session did change Jared. He didn't get that same weak, needy, crippling feeling that he would always get whenever he felt stressed out or did something big. It seemed to be gone. So what exactly happened in this session? Jared had already done a ton of therapy with me and other therapists on the trauma of growing up fatherless and of having his mother leave him over and over again when he was so little. But this time, Jared himself had reached in and gone below the level of words. He'd even gone below the level of those freaked out emotions he was feeling at the start of the session. It's like he dove below all those turbulent waves and he accessed, as close as a human being can, the direct experience of his body, of his nervous system, in that moment of time, before his experience got interpreted and translated into words and feelings and explanations. Jared had tapped into his emotional brain, the part that doesn't really have words and thoughts, that just feels. And when he let himself just feel that, what came up was what's known as an implicit memory. A memory that's not stored with words and thoughts, it's stored purely as a feeling. Little Jared must have felt the totally wiped up, but no one will carry me feeling enough times that it really got stuck as a memory. But it couldn't go away because thinking Jared, grown-up Jared, couldn't think his way into it. So whenever something happened that activated that little boy feeling of, I can't move anymore, I need to be carried, Jared's thinking brain translated that into, this is too much, I can't take it, I need help. And then he'd feel awful about himself because it made him feel needy and inadequate and screwed up. The wonderful thing here is that the moment the toddler feeling became conscious, it almost melted away because it no longer fit. So what was this incredible thing that Jared was sensing that he was tapping into? You've heard of the 5 external senses: sight, hearing, sound, taste, and touch. Of course, right? But Jared was tapping into his internal senses, which are the most important senses of all. Collectively, they go by a word you've probably never heard of before. That word is interoception. The external senses tell you about the world outside. The internal senses tell your brain what's going on the inside, so that it can keep all your bodily systems operating and in balance. Without interoception, you couldn't stay alive. Every single moment, signals are being sent from every corner of the body and all of your internal organs up to your brain. For all you techies out there, you can think of those signals as your body's own machine language. All those signals are then combined to form a kind of internal weather report that gets updated many times a minute. And that weather report is then combined with signals from your external senses and compared with encoded memories to form what neuroscientist A.E. Bud Craig called the global emotional moment. And all this happens before you think a single thought. Wow. But then all this information does get sent into your cognitive brain, where it gets translated into thoughts and compared to explicit memories, memories that have stories attached to them. I'm probably going to get in trouble with neuroscientists for this analogy, but for you techies again out there, the thinking brain compared to the emotional brain is something like Windows or iOS compared to DOS. It's this amazingly powerful platform built on top of the older one. But it's not a perfect translation. You see, this older system still runs parallel to the new one. The wiring, the software have a lot of bugs in them. You can see that in Jared. He couldn't get to what he needed to know. I didn't invent this process that Jared went through. A brilliant psychologist, psychotherapist, and philosopher named Eugene Gendlin started developing this method all the way back in the 50s. He was interested in the nature of experience before it gets put into words. Anyone who's ever written anything knows the feeling of knowing you've got something to say before you found the words to say it. Over time, Gendlin realized that if you had an issue bothering you, pay close attention to those vague, almost wordless sensations and images inside and let them simply develop without pushing them to make sense prematurely, something really great would come through. They weren't usually implicit memories like Jared's, but thoughts and feelings that were unconscious or just outside of consciousness because they had never been put into words. Because it seemed like this process made something out of focus come into focus, Gendlin called the process focusing. His book, Focusing, which was published in 1978, was translated into 17 languages, and hundreds of thousands of people all over the world have learned how to do it. Gendlin developed this idea 40 years before contemporary neuroscience came along and proved that he was right. Focusing is a way of very consciously applying interoception to heal and grow. There's going to be more instruction about this amazing process in future blogs and videos. Thank you for joining me here and listening to this episode. If you want to hear more and learn more, please subscribe. My partner, Helene Brenner, and I are looking forward to sharing a whole lot more.